Hi everyone, I'm a Canadian expat living in Seoul, South Korea. Currently, there's a major shortage of masks due to COVID-19, and a lot of people have resorted to making their own masks out of fabric. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can reinforce a double-layered fabric mask using a dry static floor sweeping cloth to act as a filter. Research here has shown you can increase your mask's filtration efficiency 4 to 5 times more by doing so. South Korea has been praised by some experts and leaders for making a lot of progress in fighting corona, so it wouldn't hurt to look into some of the ideas coming out of the country, like the one I'm going to share. If you'd like to learn more about the research findings supporting this claim, please watch my other video in which I give detailed information. To begin, this is what you'll need: a double-faced fabric mask with pocket for filter, a dry static floor sweeping cloth, paper or cardstock, scissors, a pen, and sewing pins, which are optional. The first thing you'll want to do is sanitize your hands, since you're going to be handling a filter and your mask. I'm going to be making a filter for this mask. This mask was made in Korea and has been specifically designed with a pocket where you can insert your filter. First, I'm going to make a stencil out of this paper. I've chosen cardstock because it will be easier to use as it is more rigid. Lay your mask flat or as flat as possible onto the paper. This one doesn't lay completely flat because of the design. Get a pen and try to trace the outline of your mask onto the paper. Please take into consideration the shape of your mask, as I know some masks are designed to be more 3D in shape. Some have pleats that allow the mask to open up and curve to fit against the face better. So depending on the design, you'll have to make sure your stencil will be able to span the entire area of your mask or as much as possible. Now you can cut out your stencil. After cutting out the stencil, you may need to trim the edge by 1 millimeter or so that the stencil is slightly smaller than your mask and can fit inside the mask. You'll want to double check that your stencil can fit inside the mask, but also cover as much area as you can for maximum protection. Take a dry static sweeping cloth and cut it roughly to the size of your mask. It will depend on the size and shape of your mask and the size of the dry sweeping cloth you use, but you should be able to make at least 2 filters out of each cloth. For my mask, I'll be able to get 3 filters from 1 cloth. Now trace the shape of your mask directly onto the piece of cloth you cut out, and then cut out your filter. If you wish, you could also secure the stencil using sewing pins to the cloth and cut out the filter without having to trace onto it. You could probably cut out multiple filters at a time by layering them and using this method. Now that you have your filter cut out, you can place it in your mask. Make sure it covers as much area as it can and lays flat. On a side note, the pocket on this mask makes it relatively easy for me to place in a filter because it's so big and it is loose. But because so, I find that the filter sometimes shifts. So this is something that you might consider when you are picking out a fabric mask or making one yourself. The addition of this filter should increase your mask's filtration efficiency. Make sure you save the stencil for later, and if you cut out extra filters, be sure to store them in a sterilized, airtight container. There are a few important things to consider when using fabric masks with a filter. Fabric masks can be washed and reused, but only up to a certain point. It is suggested that fabric masks should not be washed using harsh chemicals such as bleach or boiling water, as this will damage the fabric and weave, making it less effective in trapping fine particles. The static cloth filters should be discarded after daily use. There are no concrete guidelines, but it's recommended that you use judgment in replacing filters. If you've had a lot of contact with people or had contact with someone who has contracted corona, then the filter should definitely be replaced more often. Filters should be placed in between 2 layers via a pocket or slit and should be placed so they do not shift around. They should never just be placed on the inside of a mask touching your face. Be sure to take sanitary measures when replacing the filter and handling your mask. You may wish to store extra filters in a sanitary airtight container. And finally, be sure to research the available information on the best types of materials for fabric masks to increase their filtration efficiency. Hopefully this video was helpful to some people. I just want to remind you that you should carefully consider the information I gave and weigh it against findings from doing your own research. I'm not an expert and I've only shared information that's available to me. I only shared this information because I know these are desperate times and some people don't have an alternative. Again, for more information about the research findings for using static cloth filters in fabric masks, please watch my other video. Stay safe, everyone, and stay at home. Thanks for watching.